Alright, y'all, we are on part 3 of this channel, the third and final part, and as full exposure I like to go really quickly back to part 2, where of course the second tube that I put in, the rear tire, did not go as smoothly as the first. The first one went great. The second one, I don't know if I put it in there incorrectly or something, but of course as soon as I put air in it, let go of the vice grips, the valve stem shot back in there, and I fixed it once, and then it happened the second time, and it did it again. So if you have any helpful hints as to what I can do, I've tried everything because I can't get to it anymore. All I know is that this tire will stay pumped up as long as the hole doesn't get punctured in it. If a hole gets punctured in it, then it'll be a lot easier for it to get out. And just for reference, as to another reason why I'm not really going to do anything with it, on top of the fact that it's a $350 mower, is I've had tire tubes in these rear tires and the front tires of that mower for going on 4 years now, 3 years. Never had to touch them, so it's going to be good for 3 to 5 years as it is. So full exposure. That's what's going on. As promised this video, I'm taking off the blades right now. Blade stop tool is your friend. I have a floor jack and then 2 jack stands holding up the front. Kicking myself for getting rid of that mower lift because it'd be a lot easier. But under here, if you can see it, it's a 7/8 inch. I've already cracked it loose. And it's on the blade stop tool. And so it's a 7/8 inch. Just pop the blade off. Don't force these blades either, because you don't want to strip the threads on the spindle. Thankfully these aren't rusted on there. It's almost good to put anti-seize, lubricant and stuff like that back on it if you need to, before you put it back on the mower. Your hardware. Make sure your hardware, you put that back on correctly, so you might want to set it down as it is. You have your little spline for the spindle here that fits down into the blade, that sits on top. And then you have a filler wash, 2 filler washers, a big one, a small one, and then the nut on the bottom of this particular Murray at least. Same deal with the other side. You just find the blade stop. Do the other side as well. Taking a look at these blades, the lift looks good on them. They were cut. They just need the edge sharpened back on them. The lift looks good. They're a little dull. So that's what I'm going to do with this one. Do it on a bench grinder. Going to do it with the other one, and then I will put it back together for y'all. All right, so got a much better edge on the blade. They were pretty dull. Got a good edge on them now. Like I said, they still had the good lift and stuff on them, and they still look good. They're not bent. So I'll go ahead and save them. We're going to put it back on here. Alright, let's see if I remember how these go. Remember, the lift side goes up on them. So lift side up. Your little spindle fitting goes in there, goes back up. We'll put it right there. Inside the blade. Goes back up in there like so. Your 2 washers and your nut next. It's a little tricky to get it all right, but not too bad. 7/8 ratchet. Good news is everything fits up there snugly. It fits all in together. Tighten it pretty good. You don't want to tighten the mess out of it, but you want to tighten it so that you know that it ain't going to go nowhere. And so now, we'll take this off. You should have freedom of motion when I move the blade, yes. Freedom of motion when I move the blade up top, which I do, which means it's connected down there at the bottom. So, easy. Murray's pretty easy to do most stuff. It seems like the dry belt will be a little difficult, but I don't have to touch that. It's shifting good, running good, no vibrations with the drive line. So let me hit the other side, and then I will pick this up on another day because I'm still waiting on my fuel line to come in. It's going to get a fresh fuel line, fresh fuel filter, and a fuel shutoff switch. And then I've already got it washed off. The motor anyways, I'm going to run it. We're going to make sure it doesn't catch on fire. And I'll put the hood back on it. We'll clean it up. Getting close. So, with the theme of everything going on with this mower with the tire tube, of course I get on the right side of it, and I think the spindle, the threads on the hold the blade on, and the bottom of the spindle here are stripped and rusted on. More frustration than anything. It's not that big of a deal. Very easy to take it off, by the way. This just slides up. This spindle right here just slides up into this shaft on the mower. And then you have your pulley right there. You just take a 7/8. This is frozen on, so you put a wrench on the bottom, ratchet on the top. You just loosen it up, take your belt off, take your pulley off, and you've got it off, as you can see here. So now, luckily spindles I don't think are that much just for this little spindle portion. Doesn't look like I have a part number for that, but I do have the model number, so I am going to do that. So now what I'm going to do is take and put this on the vise here, see if I can get this thing off. So let me go ahead and work on that. Like to save the blade. If I don't, it ain't that big of a deal, but looks like I'm going to have to put a spindle on this thing too. So bonus for those of y'all are watching. You get a little bit of everything on this one. Well, unfortunately it's not moving, so I'm going to have to leave it for tonight, but it's going to require a little bit of angle grinder action to get it cut off. At least I've got a space to get it off right there, but and a new spindle. So again, like I said, another unforeseen cost, but I've got $50 in the mower right now. So what's another 20? If I got less than 100 and sell it for $350, I mean, you do the math. So it's just another one of them things. Get a little bit of angle grinder action on it, get that thing cut off. So my next order of business here is I'm taking the spindle off. The whole assembly itself. So I already took the shaft and stuff out. That's what's got the frozen bolt on it. Frozen locking nut. I've got an order, or I've got one of these ordered and ready to go. Just waiting on it to come in. You have 5 bolts here to take it off. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. This bracket's a little bit messed up, but your bracket goes on. That one on the left there, and it's combined with the bolt, and same deal with the one on the right here. So I'm just going to finish taking those out. If they do break off, it's not a big deal. You can find another one of these, just self-tapping bolts. Definitely going to clean the threads on these before I put them back on, and get the spindle. So that's just kind of what I'm doing now. Whenever the you get the last bolt, this should just drop down on the deck. Just drop right through. If not, you just tap it out. So just kind of wanted to tell y'all where I'm at with this. So they're a 9/16 inch bolt, and I gave them a good impact before I took them off, and I'm on the last one now, and I'm just going to show y'all that after you take the last bolt out, just remember where your brackets go. They go 2 apart from each other, one on the left, one on the right, and then your blade bracket for the blading gauge and one of your guides goes on that back right bolt on the right side here. So that's it. So that's that. And now the spindle's coming out the bottom here, and we get the spindle out and keep going. So I got the nut cut off of the shaft just using this angle grinder here. Now, because we're not going to save the shaft obviously, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these in these spindle bolts in the vice grips, and take a drill and a wire brush and clean them up. Again, I haven't had to take the deck off of the mower at all for all of this. So you can service it without having to actually physically take the deck out, although it may be easier. Although it doesn't really make that much of a difference. Just have to be bending down a lot more. But let's see if I can put that down here. Just gonna take the bolts. Just give them a nice little scrub. With the wire brush. And I'll repeat that for the other 4 bolts just to get the threads cleaned. I'll work on this one a little bit more as well, just to get the threads cleaned so that it'll go in easier. Well, when we get to that point, we will get to that point, so to speak. So while we're waiting on the spindle, I have the spindle off, the blade sharpened now, ready to get put back on. Also put this hardware over here just in case I needed it if it doesn't come with the spindle and shaft. I wish I could just found the shaft, but I couldn't find any in a quick search, and spindle was only 20 bucks. I figured the shaft would be pretty close to that. Went ahead and put some gasket sealer around the overhead valve. Replace that gasket. If you want to see how I did that, look at my Craftsman single cylinder video. I think it was part 4 that I did that. And so now, while I'm waiting on that, I've got fuel line, brand new fuel line, and a bunch of fuel filters. I decided to replace the other fuel filter. It's in the trash here somewhere. But it was one of them types that screw on the end, and I think it was leaking or prone to leaking. So I like these old basic fuel filters. So I'm going to get that. I'm going to get a shutoff switch, and we'll go ahead and put the fuel line on. It's easy. All you got to do is cut it to length, and so I'll just show you the finished product of that. So I got the new fuel line on, just cut it to length, install the shutoff switch, install the fuel filter, and it should be good to go. Next, I am going to go ahead and put the engine cover back on here. Oops. Don't lose your bolts. Your fasteners and stuff. So I'm going to put that back on, and then I'm going to put the exhaust shield back on as well. So I'll do that real quick, and then I guess put the hood back on. They're all pretty simple. I'll have to show y'all how to hook the spring back up, and I'm going to go ahead and do all this off camera since it's just a matter of just putting a couple of bolts on. I'll catch you when I get the hood back to the point where I'm putting the hood spring on. Okay, so I got the hood and everything back on. Like I mentioned, just those 4 bolts and the 3 screws over right there, and right there to put the starter cover back on. The starter cover goes under the engine cover, so put that on first and then slide the engine cover on top of that, and then you just screw the dipstick back into place and screw the starter cover back into place. This spring, so there's like a shoulder on these bolts right here that goes through the metal, through the bracket to hold the hood, through the actual hood, and then there's this piece of metal here that goes kind of as a spacer in between the two, and that's where the spring comes in. It fits, there's like a little tab, if you can see on the other side, to where it will fit under. Hopefully I can get it to show y'all. There's a tab that fits under the hood there, and so you slide it under there so that you can get the hood to open and close, and then you bolt it on, close the hood, and attach the spring. So that's how that works. So next, it's just a waiting game. I actually might run it first to see if it will actually run okay. I know the oil's good. I topped it off. It's good to go. So I might give it a test run before I put the spindle back on it. And I'll put the spindle on it, clean it up, and we'll go for a ride. Alright, so topped off the oil and everything like that. We're going to give this thing a run to see if we can get it running. Hopefully the battery's still charged up. We're going to monitor the exhaust and see if it's smoking or anything like that. I'm not going to run the blades on it because I still don't have the spindle for it, but I just want to make sure that it runs good, and that it's not leaking or smoking or anything like that. Cooling fins that were causing the muffler to get really hot and smoke. It idles down too. So now let it do its thing. muffler. That muffler is a little warm, but probably put that heat shield on it. Like I said, I'm going to watch it. And let it run for a while and make sure it's good. And the next order of business will be to put that spindle back on it. I want to try to check something out real quick. It's about, a cold front just came through, but this thing's running. It's got, you know, warm on the exhaust end, but it's actually so cool on the intake end that it's sweating at the intake too. So that's kind of interesting. I greased the fittings for the steering, and so now that's good. I'm just going to drive it up and down the driveway a little bit, and then I will wait on the spindle and finish this thing up, give it a good wash. So pardon the lawnmower running, but I did want to share that I have this spindle in, and so we're going to put this in now. Still waiting on the nuts. I'm going to reuse the nut for the pulley, but I need the nut for the blade, so I'm waiting on that. But what all you got to do is you just have to slide. Actually, they gave me nuts or bolts as well. New bolts that are not threaded, so I might try the threaded bolts, the self-threading bolts, just to get a better bite on it. Actually, these are supposed to self-tap as well, so disregard that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop the spindle in. Like that. And so the side that has the rough edges on it goes under the bottom. So the longer side, I checked, is a little bit different than the spindle that came off of it. As you can see, the housing on the spindle is a little bit different, but just looking online and whatnot, this is and if somebody wants to correct me, an appropriate spindle. Like, I don't have to add anything up here where the races are or anything like that. But if I'm wrong, please correct me. I'm not 100% on that. So let it pop it in. Just pops in perfectly like that. And you just line up the holes. As long as I can get one started, I'll be okay. So this one, I just need to get one started so that I can have it up. And ready to go. And what I might actually do, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on the vise, or just put it down here. I'm just going to get the threads started on these. I might have to put it in the vise for this. want to get them straight. So as you can see, it has started some threads in there. So I'm going to go ahead while this mower, or while I've got the spindle off the mower, and go ahead and just tap the threads of each of these. It's just a matter of, these are self-tapping bolts, so it's just a matter of putting it down there and turning it a couple turns and then backing it off, turning it a couple turns and backing it off. Just make sure you don't cross thread anything, and then we will I'll put it back on the mower and I'll show you the finished setup once I get it back on there, since I've already shown you how it goes back on. So after working on this, I'll give you a little hint and say that if you're able to get all of your old bolts off and clean them off, they're probably going to tap a whole lot better than this cheap hardware that comes with most of these inexpensive spindles. So while I was working tooth and nail to get this one in with the old hardware, or excuse me, with the new hardware, the old hardware, I was able to tap that within about 15 seconds. So using the old bolts, honestly, is probably the way to go here. So I'm going to finish tapping them and I'll put it up there, and like I said, I'm just waiting on the nut. And so I'll put the blade on and go ahead and I'll show you all the ends set up just so y'all know how to put it back on, and then I'll get it cleaned. So it is now on the mower, and the height looks good from what I can tell. And I just want to show you the setup of the way that the guides go back on, and then that last bolt goes on to the blade brake assembly over there, and you have two that are attached to nothing. So now I'm going to go ahead, I'll put the blade on when the nut comes in. I'll do that off camera. All I got to do is put the washer on underneath the blade whenever I put it on. I'm pretty sure. If not, I'll come back on the other end of this. But I'll wash it, and we'll give it a good test mow and hopefully call this thing done. So as much as I wanted to finish this in 3 parts, I'm gonna put part 4 at the end for this reason, and it's a lesson that all of us mower people and all of us people in general could learn from. So I found a website that was selling what I found to be a leaking gas tank on this Murray. So I needed to find a new gas tank. I found a website, looked very legitimate, that was selling them for about $10 less than your usual eBay/Amazon suspects. And I think I had been scammed, because after I ordered it, it said it will ship between 5 and 8 business days. I'm like, I don't need it, anytime soon, so I'm gonna go ahead and buy it. When it gets here, I'll put it on. Well, we're almost 2 weeks into, we're talking close to 14 business days now. I haven't heard back from the seller or anything like that, so I've got a claim with the bank and gonna file them to the FTC and all that, so that could be potentially about $40 some odd that I don't get back, but I'll still make the money back. That's the reason why I want to end it here. What's going to end up happening is I will show you how to put the gas tank back on, since I took it off camera. It's very easy to do. I'm going to put that blade back on the other side, and we're going to get this thing running. So don't know when part 4 is going to come. I just wanted to give a conclusion to part 3 and just kind of give y'all an update as to what is going on and what current situation I am in with the Murray here. So stay tuned for part 4. I do not know when it will be coming. It might be next week. It might be 2 to 3 months, but I will give y'all some closure on this, and I'll tell you what happens with the whole gas tank situation. So thank y'all again for watching. I'm sorry I couldn't get it done in 3 parts like I was hoping. So please stay tuned for part 4. And also, we're going to level the deck. So that'll be enough content-worthy items to make a decent video for part 4. Thank y'all again. Thank y'all for the support. Thank y'all for always subscribing, liking the videos, giving me some comments, good, bad. Take all of them and learn from them. And so yeah, we'll catch you on the next one.